storm Ian's unsure way has all of Florida planning. News. Unusual typhoon Ian fortified for the time being as it beat in the Caribbean, provoking dire arrangements in Florida, where the tempest could convey influences, including cyclones, beginning Tuesday before perhaps showing up as a significant storm with strong breezes and risky tempest flood. Indeed, even as Ian develops further, its supported breezes are at 75 miles per hour with higher blasts. There stays higher than expected vulnerability over its track and power, as indicated by the public tropical storm community. In any case, Floridians are being approached to plan as they face the gamble of risky tempest flood, high breezes and weighty precipitation along the west coast and the Florida Beg, the storm community said. Extensive flooding influences are conceivable mid to late week in focal Florida given previously immersed precursor conditions, and blaze and metropolitan flooding is conceivable with precipitation across the Florida Keys and the Florida Promontory through midweek, the storm community said. Florida Gov. Ron DeSantis said the whole state ought to prepare for Ian's effect. Make arrangements now, DeSantis said Sunday. The things that you ought to be ready with are things like food, water, batteries, medication, fuel. The lead representative additionally cautioned of blackouts, particularly any place Ian makes landfall, as well as could be expected clearings and fuel deficiencies. The tempest, found Monday morning around 90 miles south-southwest of Great Cayman and around 315 miles southeast of the western tip of Cuba, is gauged to quickly fortify and arrive at serious storm status Monday night as it approaches Cuba, the Middle said in its most recent update. The tempest is supposed to create weighty precipitation, streak flooding, and potential landslides in areas of higher landscape, especially over Jamaica and Cuba. Endeavors to safeguard life and property ought to be hurried to the end, forecasters added. Storm track focuses to Florida. In the wake of passing Cuba, Ian will follow through the eastern Bay of Mexico, carrying effects on Florida as soon as Tuesday. Weighty downpour, typhoon force winds, and tempest flood are normal across the Keys and the west bank of Florida this week. The Florida Keys are estimated to see 4 to 6 grolls of downpour. West focal Florida is gauged to see 8 to 10 creeps of downpour with detached totals up to 15 inches conceivable, and the rest of the Florida landmass is figured to see 3 to 8 inches. Expecting the tempest's belongings in the not-so-distant future, a storm watch has been given along the west shoreline of Florida from north of Englewood to the Anclote Waterway, including Tampa Strait. Typhoon conditions are estimated to arrive at the west focal Florida coast Tuesday night, with storm conditions conceivable on Wednesday. The ongoing tempest flood figure for Florida is as per the following. Anclote Waterway to Englewood, Florida, including Tampa Narrows, 5 to 8 feet. Englewood to Bonita Oceanside, Florida, including Charlotte Harbor, 4 to 7 feet. Bonita Oceanside to East Cape Sable, Florida, 3 to 5 feet. East Cape Sable to Card Sound Scaffold, Florida, including Florida Narrows, 2 to 4 feet. Florida Keys including the Dry Tortugas, 2 to 4 feet. A couple cyclones are conceivable late Monday night and Tuesday across the Florida Keys and the southern and focal Florida landmass, the tropical storm place said. Models project various situations about where it could make landfall in Florida, and how solid it very well may be by midweek. Starting around Monday morning, meteorologists anticipated the tempest will top at Class 4 strength over the eastern inlet of Mexico, then, at that point, debilitate prior to arriving at Florida. With streak and metropolitan flooding conceivable across the Florida Keys and the Florida Promontory through the center of the week, a typhoon cautioning was given for the lower Florida Keys from 7 Mile extension toward the south to Key West. Lead representative actuates public watchman, urban communities prepare for possible tropical storm. DeSantis actuated the public watchman on Sunday morning, saying however the way of the tempest is as yet dubious, the effects will be comprehensively felt all through the state. State and government debacle announcements were made throughout the end of the week. One model is extending Ian to make landfall in the Tampa Strait area while another model is extending landfall into the Beg, DeSantis said. Everybody in Florida will feel the effects of the tempest, head of Florida's Division of Crisis the Board, Kevin Guthrie, told him News on Sunday. A central issue is the way rapidly the tempest can strengthen, focused on Jason Union, overseer of NOAA's Storm Research Field Program. The tempest can speed up 35 miles each hour in one day, Union said. You can go from a hurricane to a Classification 1, or Class 1 to a Classification 3 in that 24-hour time span. That makes it particularly significant for people to focus on this tempest the following 2 or 3 days. As the tempest draws near, Floridians are being approached to load up on provisions like radios, water, canned food and drug for somewhere around 7 days, and find out more about clearing courses. Occupants in Tampa and different regions were seen arranging for barricades as they arranged for the tempest Sunday. Topping off sacks of sand close by other local area individuals in Orange District, Jose Lugo told he realizes what can occur if the most exceedingly terrible hits. It's smarter to be ready than sorry later, Lugo said. I was in Puerto Rico visiting my several days prior Fiona hit. I was helping them out, and presently I'm here aiding myself and every other person. Urban communities and districts all through the state are additionally getting ready. Authorities in Tallahassee, the state's capital, are attempting to eliminate trash and ensure the city's electrical cables and stormwater frameworks are clear. We're giving our very best toward the front of the tempest to plan and get our foundation, Tallahassee City Chairman John Daly said. St. Petersburg Chairman Kenneth Welch said his city on Florida's Bay Coast is in a weak position. Indeed, even a hurricane can wreck our power framework for a lengthy measure of time. We're teaching to be ready and to design, Welch told him News. Regardless of what strength the tempest raises a ruckus around town, Florida is planning for a hazardous tempest flood, Guthrie said, which is the point at which the power of a typhoon or tempest pushes seawater coastal. We could see what is going on of a Class 4 tempest flood and Class 1 or 2 landfall, Guthrie said. Authorities in Cape Coral, a city in southwest Florida known for its many waterways, were especially worried about storm flood and winds. At the present time, obviously we resemble numerous different urban areas, we're getting ready for the most exceedingly awful, remaining optimistic, Cape Coral City Hall leader John Gunter told News. In Hillsborough Province, Ian's methodology left the school locale with no decision yet to close all schools as grounds change into tornado cellars, as per Hillsborough area state-funded schools. Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Oceanside gave a compulsory departure request Saturday and dropped classes Monday because of the oncoming tempest. Arrangements were likewise in progress in Georgia, where Governor Brian Kemp requested the actuation of the State Activities Center on Monday to plan for any expected effect from Typhoon Ian later in the week. However, models propose it will debilitate prior to making landfall on Thursday, and its definitive course is as yet unsure. Ian could bring about extreme weather conditions harm for enormous pieces of Georgia, said a news discharge from the lead representative's office.